Welcome back to Connected. It's Destiny and Jaden, and we're so happy you're here today.
Today, you are in for a very special treat because we have a very special guest, Tara Guarda.
Hello.
We're so excited. So let's get into it. First questions. For listeners who may not know you yet, can you tell us a bit about who you are and how your story took a turn you never expected?
Yes. Should we tell them the topic?
Oh, yep. See, look, I'm already on top of it. She picked a wonderful topic, which we both loved so much. Would you like to say the topic?
Yes. I have it written down. I don't want to say it wrong or out of order.
Yep, she has her notes. She's prepared.
Yes. I write down my notes. I don't like them on my phone. When life doesn't go as planned. When life doesn't go as planned. So it was about myself. Is that what you said? Well, I'm Tara. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. Daughter of the king. I think that is pretty much encompasses my life. I think my biggest role, obviously, is wife and mom, but I feel like I was meant to be a mom. Like, I feel like that's my mission, my goal in life. I love kids. I always wanted kids from when I was little. That's like what I wanted to be when I grew up. My cousin and I, we were close like you guys. Your relationship reminds me of my cousin and I when we were young. And everyone would always say, oh, I want to be this when I grow up. I want to be that. And for me, it was like me and my cousin Sam, we would say, we want to be a mom. And we were in like elementary school. So yeah, I just love being a mom and a wife. And, I love my job because I work with kids. So I feel like that's right where I'm meant to be. Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Can you share how you know us for
Yes.
the fellow listeners who don't know you?
Yes. So I started going to Sunset Church, the women's group on Wednesdays, probably a year ago, maybe. And then maybe a little longer. And then started going to church there as well. And that's how I think I first met you both in the women's group. Yes, in the women's group. And then my whole family started going because my husband went to the men's group, my son went to youth, and Audrey went to the children's ministry. And then we started attending church there, and we've been there ever since, and we love it. And you guys are great. So yes, that's how I met you guys.
Thank you. I remember women's group because we were at the same table for was it Colossians study?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I just remember I loved you from when I met you.
I
I
would
would
see
tell
you
my
still
I
with
would
Drake.
always tell my parents. I'm like, I love her.
She'd be like, gee, this girl, and I'm like, who's that? She's like, it's Drake's mom. I'm like, oh, I know Drake.
Yes, Drake. He's a hoot.
Okay. Second
So,
question. Oh,
why did you choose this topic?
Oh, this topic. I like this topic because should I go into when as well? Okay. So I was born with a heart condition, Marfan syndrome, and it never really affected me. I was put on medication when I was younger. I was diagnosed when I was 11, and it never really affected my life besides taking medication and not being able to do PE in school, which was kind of a perk because I got out of school early and I didn't have to do all those things everyone else was complaining about. So that was kind of nice. But in 2022, oh, sorry, let me rewind. When I had kids, I was considered very high risk, and the doctors were concerned and that I got pregnant. And I was watched very closely throughout my pregnancies. And everything went smooth. Everything was fine. And with both of my pregnancies, really. And so my heart condition, although I knew it was there, it never affected me. And that changed in 2022. June of 2022, and I had an aortic dissection, which Most people probably don't really know what that is. Your aorta runs off, it's the main valve that runs off of your heart to give your body oxygenated blood. And it tore. It has like a big rip in it. So when it happened, I knew instantly something was wrong because it was hard to breathe. It hurt really, really bad. So I was rushed to the emergency room. Um, and they just kept me on a lot of pain medicine so I can just be without being in pain. And from there, I had surgery because I was losing blood in my left leg. And to keep my left leg there and blood flowing, they put a bypass right here to bring blood from my left leg to my right leg. So that was my first surgery. And that was, I think, 2 days after the dissection happened. And recovery from that was really hard. And not to mention leaving, it was like 6 in the morning. My kids, I didn't get to say goodbye, and I didn't want to scare them because I was in a lot of pain. I was gone for probably 9 or 10 days, and that really affected my son, especially. He was 2022. He was 11 at the time. It was hard for him emotionally to go through that. And then a couple weeks later, I had to go back in and have surgery because when I ate, my stomach was hurting really bad and my intestines weren't getting enough blood, is what was happening. So they had to go in and do a big cut and do repair surgery on where the tear happened. And then from all of that happening, they didn't want another dissection to happen higher up in the aorta, which is pretty much life-threatening. So October 2022, they did open heart surgery to prevent that. And that was the only planned surgery that I had to like prepare for. So obviously that didn't go as planned. The surgery did, but in life, I had to deal with that. And I dealt with it fine. I feel like the recoveries were hard. The first 2 surgeries were the hardest, but I feel like, up until that point, I had no issues with my heart condition. I had nothing wrong, and then all that at once. It was a lot. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, 1 month prior to that, my husband was in a car accident that could have took his life very easily. So he was dealing with a lot physically, emotionally, he wasn't working. So as a family, we were going through a lot. And then my stuff happened. So all his stuff was put on the back burner and he was taking care of me. It was just a lot all at once for our family. And it kind of continued for a couple years. So yeah, that was not in our plans and really kind of threw a curveball for me, for my husband, for my kids, really. Drake the most, I feel like. He had to learn a lot, and it took an emotional toll on him for sure.
Well, pretty much was question 2, which was, can you share a specific time in your life when things completely didn't go as planned or as expected? So you basically answered that.
Okay.
So we'll just...
I had one other thing with that.
Go ahead.
Well, not with that, separately. That was one of them. And then another time that life didn't go as planned. Having kids, my genetic trait, my kids have a 50-50 chance of getting it. And by the time my kids were born, there was a blood test available. And both my kids got blood tested. And Drake has neither of the mutated genes and doesn't have Marfan syndrome. And Audrey does. And that is something that was hard. Like, I knew it was a chance that it could happen, but having to, I guess, work through that with God and I guess not take that burden on, because I feel like it's my fault that happened. So that's been like an up and down thing I've dealt with for years. And I think going through my surgeries and stuff, and realizing like I am okay and I am strong and I'm like God's got me regardless, has helped me realize that um I can be there for her through whatever she's going to have to deal with in life, having Marfan syndrome like I have, like it's kind of prepared me to be strong for her,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, that's true. That is the beauty of it because you have gone through everything. So now she'll be able to learn from you and you'll know exactly how she feels when she goes through certain things.
Yes.
So, how did that experience impact your faith? Did it shake it, grow it, or both?
I think the situation with Audrey, it definitely had its ups and downs, and um maybe shook it sometimes, just feeling like why does she always have to go through things, because there's been multiple things that she's had to deal with already, and go through with doctors and just medical things, and I feel like it's not fair, and so I've wrestled with that sometimes. And it's still hard not to put blame on myself and feel guilty. Um, but going through everything Brian and I did in 2022, I feel like that really grew my faith a lot, because going through surgery after surgery and not being with my kids, that was the hardest part. It wasn't surgery and them describing how they're going to saw my chest bone open and then put it back together with a wire. The hardest part was being away from my kids. But it really grew my faith because I felt so close to God. I felt him right there the whole time, and that peace. I've never felt that peace in my life. So having that, it it I knew I was going through it, but it almost felt like I wasn't at the same time. So that really helped. It grew my faith huge, and I felt so close to the Lord, which was like it felt worth it, like to go through all those things, which were, looking back, I'm like, how did I do that? Like I look back at pictures and I am like, I remember the feeling, I remember being there, and I'm like, how did I even do that? You know?
Yeah.
Which is so cool because like that feeling is like just like God's like giving God glory for that. You're like, I
Yeah.
literally excuse me. I literally could not have done that on my own.
Yeah.
Which is also so cool because Audrey gets to look at that and see like, well, I know when I'm struggling with this, I know that the Lord's gonna be beside me because I saw him beside my mom who's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you're such a role model and example for her, not even just as a mom, but as like someone with her condition, which only makes it even cooler because you are her mom.
Yeah. And I hope my kids see that, I want them to always know that the, that I put my trust and strength in the Lord, and that's the only way I got through. Like I would faint going to get a shot at the doctors, okay? And having to go through all that, like that wasn't me. Like there's no way I could have done that by myself. So,
I remember at women's group when you were telling us, and you were saying that you would faint before you'd get a shot, and then the whole time before you thought you were going to be nervous, and then the day of you just had like peace. And that was so, you just kept having peace, and you're like, for sure, for sure. And
yeah.
I just remember that, and I was like, that's crazy.
It really was super crazy. I thought the whole week before, and I'm like, okay, that night, because we had to leave at like 4 a.m. to get to San Francisco. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I slept so sound. And then on the drive there, I was like, well, I'm sure I'll be nervous on the drive there. I wasn't. We just played my favorite song over and over. And Brian just held my hand and we just drove. And then when we got there, it was calm and quiet. And I just sat there. And even in the hustle and bustle, they had me in the hallway in a bed, like all ready to go. But the room apparently wasn't ready. And the nurse, he was sweet. He was trying to talk to me to like calm me down. And I'm like, I'm fine. And he's like, do you want me to give you something to like calm your nerves? And I'm like, I'm okay, really. and I had nothing going into the room. And I just remember thinking, I kept saying this prayer to myself. I would say, Lord, go before me, behind me, beside me. And I just kept repeating it. And I just remember saying to myself going in, I'm like, just don't look around too much,
Yeah.
And I didn't. I just remember the room being really big and there wasn't a lot of stuff in there. It was like really sterile looking. And I was on a really skinny bed. They put me on a super skinny bed and I laid and then they gave me medicine and I don't remember anything. But before that, I had nothing and I didn't need it. I had the peace of God, and it is a super incredible feeling to have that, because I know there's no way I could have done that and not have been absolutely freaking out. No way. So I know that in the future, because there may be a time I need more surgeries, and they've told me that, I get nervous sometimes, my humanly self, like, no, I don't want to do that again. But I'm like, I know if I need it, that God will be with me again. Like, I know he will, I hope I don't have to, but if I do, that he'll come for me again. So,
Okay, question 4. Did you ever wrestle with disappointment or anger towards God in that season?
in the dealing with Audrey's stuff, yes, because since Audrey's been a baby, she wasn't blood tested and, confirmed having Marfan until she was probably like 1.5. We kind of knew somewhat, we thought, but it's still like when it's confirmed and you hear, it's hard. But there's just been thing after thing with her that I feel like she doesn't deserve, So, yes, for sure. And it's been hard, but a lot of prayer, and Brian's there to remind me that, like, this is her story. These are her things. Like, everyone has their things and their challenges that they're going to go through. I have mine, he has his, everyone has theirs. This is part of her story. And all we can do is be there to support her. And I hope that I can be there to support her in a way that nobody else can, being her mom and having it as well, and gone through stuff myself. So I just hope that she, like I told her before her surgery, I said, you've got to lean on the Lord and he will give you peace. That, when I'm not there, when you're going into the room. And so all I can do is try and give her advice I know that has worked for me.
Yeah. And your story is used for his glory, and her story is going to be used for his glory.
Yes.
And when you mentioned like having guilt earlier, also remember that's not from the Lord. Like,
Yes.
it's not your fault.
And that's something I have put down and I keep picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard.
Yeah, it is. Even
We
like
literally
in
were
little
just
things
saying
in
that.
life with whatever
Anything.
other people could be going through, sometimes we give it up, but then we take it back on. And didn't we just...
We literally were like, okay, God. And then we're like, wait, actually, can I have that back for a quick
Yeah.
second?
Yeah.
He's like,
"Girl, you
no,
don't need
like,
that."
put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. What role did community, friends, church, and family play when life took an unexpected turn?
A huge role. When Brian and I went through our things, Brian had surgery as well on his back. And through my surgeries, we had meals brought to us, flowers delivered, gift cards delivered. I mean, it was a huge help because it obviously I'm not up and cooking and doing stuff with the kids. Like, I can't. And Brian's taking care of me. And then I think the biggest role was my mom. Like, we couldn't have done it without her. I don't know what we would have done. She took work off and she took care of my kids. And there's a difference between having somebody like a babysitter take care of your kids and somebody who knows how to take care of your kids like you take care of your kids. So the comfort in that, the comfort of me sitting in the hospital day after day, knowing that they're taking care of the way I would take care of them, it was a huge blessing. We had people offer, do you need me to do something with the kids, or do you need me to come down and watch them? Which was so nice. But having my mom do it, there's no one else I would want my kids to be with, because I know that they also felt comfortable and loved, in a situation where their lives are turned upside down. Having their dad be in his accident and not working, and then now he's taking care of me, and he's gone all the time, helping out me. And so yeah, she's was a huge blessing, still is, with the kids. My kids are very, very close to her, so that was huge for us. We're super, super thankful.
Like you said, you couldn't do it without your mom. I feel like when Audrey grows up, she's going to look back and be like, I couldn't do it without my mom, and saying how you wanted someone that takes care of your kids the way you take care of your kids. I think that's also like God. Like he cares and loves for your kids too. And you, like you're his child. So we just know that he would, in this situation, this circumstance, like he's taking care of you all, your whole family. He had you guys and still does in the palm of his hand. And it's like the crazy and cool thing about God is when things like this happen, down on earth, we may be like, what? Because we're not prepared.
It's unexpected
but up there,
for us.
God already knew it was coming. And he's just like,
him.
I already know. Like, I'm here
worry.
for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're like, what?
Sometimes just a little heads up.
I always think it's like cool or like kind of crazy to think about how like you love your kids so much and you want them to take care of you, but God loves your kids way more than you could ever.
Which is hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Because I love those kids. Like, I can't even put into words how much I love them. And he loves them so much more. I'm like, wow, okay. That gives me comfort too with Audrey and her things, because I'm like, okay, I can trust in that, because I'm like, you love her more than I do. And that's an amount that can't even be described.
If I can't even describe my amount, I can't even imagine what your love for her is like. Even like for you too, like your family, your husband, Drake, like all of them.
Not that I don't love Drake any less. It's just Audrey has challenges that Drake doesn't. Medically. So it's just a, different situation.
Kind of answered this. How did you learn to trust God even when things didn't make sense?
I think just looking back and seeing how in my life from when I was young, he has worked everything together that I would have never even thought of or been like, why would this be happening? Good or bad, or neither, just happened. He worked everything together. And I look back and I'm like, wow, he did all that for me. Like, even I had kids young. Drake was not planned, Brian and I met young. Like, just the way my whole life worked, it's like everything happened for a reason. Like, if I had waited to have kids and Brian and I, just everything, I wouldn't be able to have kids after all. There's no way I can have kids now. I just know that everything happened perfectly to his plan. And you look back and you see that and you're like, wow, how could you not have faith and trust the Lord in his process, even if it's not your plans or the way you want things to go? So I know, and even going through my stuff, the comfort and the peace I felt, I'm like, I know that whatever happens in the future with me, with Audrey, with our whole family, I know that it's his plan, and I know that we'll be where we're meant to be and everything will be fine. I just want to lean into the Lord as much as I can and as a family. And that we'll be where we're supposed to be, and we'll be taken care of by him. So
yeah, we're so young. So like even sometimes when things don't go the way I want it in my life, I'm like, oh, why, know? But it's cool. Even when you guys spoke at church, just hearing people's testimonies, because then it gives you it
gives you hope.
Yeah, hope, and like increases your faith. Because yes, we hear it in the Bible and we see how God, but sometimes we could be like, okay,
this is like a tangible.
And it's like when we hear stories like yours, it gives you hope. Like, okay, see, everything worked out for the good.
Yeah.
And especially hard because we're so young. We don't even know what we're doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah.
it's like we don't even know what he has planned. And then just having that trust in him. And I really like that you said lean into the Lord, because that was a huge word for me last year. No,
2 years.
2023. Wait. No, 2024.
Last year.
Last year. Yeah, that's last year. I think I can never remember what I see on the podcast,
Yeah.
but we chose a word of the year. I don't know. Were you at the women's group when we did that?
I think so.
And so I picked lean because
Okay.
everyone was like, that's such a weird word. But like for me, it meant like to lean on the Lord,
Uh-huh.
to fully be dependent on him and no one else.
Yeah.
So I like that you said that, because that even sometimes reminds me that I'm like,
Yeah.
need to lean on him.
Leaning on the Lord.
Or am I leaning on myself or those around me?
Yeah.
My own desires.
Yeah.
So what did God teach you about his character through this detour?
I mean, I know, but let me see what I wrote down. Look, I didn't even use my notes for most of these.
Yep.
We always tell
Happens
people,
every time.
Yeah.
you'll do fine. Don't be nervous.
Like, we know that because our first podcast, we had notes, didn't look at the screen one time.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just, things were flowing.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. His goodness, just how good he is. Obviously the peace that I talked about that is great. But I think obviously that he's always in control. By his goodness, I mean, Brian and I've been with Brian since I was 16. We've been through a lot. We've had a lot of ups and downs. When I met Brian, he says he wasn't a believer. He just was angry with the Lord because he lost his mom when he was 10. He didn't know how to deal with that. He never dealt with that. So with that, we dealt with a lot throughout the years, a lot of ups and downs. And at one point I had to leave and say, okay, Lord, I can't be with someone that's not equally yoked. I'm not going to raise a kid with somebody like this. He had a lot of anger, not at me, just with life. Yeah. And having to leave and go through that and then watch God totally change his life. I mean, it was, even I was like, is this real? Like, I don't know. I was skeptical, and it was just, it was really cool to see. But he really does turn everything for good. And he knew my heart. He knew that I did not want to have kids with someone and not be with that person. He knew that. And that's why it was so hard for me to leave, because I don't want my kids growing up in two households. I did it, and I didn't want that for my kids. And he brought us back together a few months later, and we got married and had Audrey, and just seeing the goodness work when you trust him, even though at that time I was like, okay, this is it. I left thinking 100% we will never be together. Like, I was set. And he's just so good. Mm-hmm. He worked everything perfectly, and not just that, but so many things in my life. And so yeah, I would just say his character, there's so many good things, but his goodness is just been so relevant in my life. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm undeserving a lot of the time. I'm like, why me?
I think we all do that. I know this wasn't a question on the thing,
mm-hmm.
but is there ever like a moment that you like specifically remember where you just like surrendered it all to the Lord? Like in times like when things weren't going your way, did you ever try to hold on to anything? Like, do you still hold control, or just immediately you just surrendered?
I would say I'm thinking of like a breakdown moment with Audrey, because I'm the type of person where I get news from the doctor, or I hear this or I hear that, and I go into like panic mode, or the human side of me. Mm-hmm. And I not think the worst, but they're telling you one thing, and it's like, not that I run with it, but I take it to heart. And and Brian kind of brings me back to earth. He's like, hey, this is what they're saying right now. Nothing's final. Like, calm down. Let's let this play out. Pray about it. God hasn't finished anything yet. Like, just calm down. He, not that I think the worst, but I kind of go off of what the doctors, the initial whatever, when the doctors tell me, and I panic. And I've had to learn to let it go, to give up everything when it comes to her and what they're going to tell me. Because there's been a lot of ups and downs and a lot of things they told me, and some things they tell me, and then we go back a few months later and get her checked out with whatever, and oh no, it's not that, it's this. And so it's a big relief. And Brian's like, see, I told you, you didn't trust God. And I'm like, and it's happened multiple times, and I'm like, oh. So he's right. So I've had a couple meltdowns. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done worrying about it. I need to just trust you and not panic when they say something or whatever, and just let it go. So in the future, when something comes up, when or if something comes up and they say whatever, I need to just be done and just, it's in your hands. You're going to take care of her. You love her. And I need to trust that and not let my human side panic, because it's sometimes hard to do.
I like that you say human side, because it is like our human nature just to panic. It's not fun.
Just to think the worst of everything. Like,
yes.
Here's something, you're gone.
Yeah.
God's like, wait.
I do that. And Brian's like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
did you hear what
like,
they said?
He's like, you're such a woman. And I'm like, hey. He is so, he's so chill. Like, someone will say something like huge or dramatic or whatever, and he's just like so chill. I'm like,
emotion.
Yes.
Well, it's good because you balance each other out.
We do.
Because if you were with someone that was the same way as you, I don't know how that would
be holding together.
Yes, he brings me down a lot, and I'm not like a emotional. Yeah. Like, I'm a chill person too. But when it comes to my kids, they're everything to me. So it's hard for me.
Even anything that I think anyone ever hears from the doctor, I don't think especially if it's like big. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're just like, oh, like, I bet you everyone's freaking out. Yeah. Especially if I had to get open heart surgery. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because before my dissection happened, I get checked yearly. They do a ultrasound. So before everything happened, I had my ultrasound done in like December, I think. And they said, they were talking about, oh, well, coming up, you may need open heart surgery to fix this so it doesn't dilate, yada, yada. And I went into full-blown panic mode. Like, I was sobbing. I panicked. And I'm like, I told Brian, I'm like, there's absolutely no way I could do that. There is no physical way I can do that. Like, it's not happening. And
God was like, girl,
you can't.
Right? He said, you wanted a warning. I tried to give it to you.
And then by the time that actually came and I needed it, they scheduled it, and I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, it totally changed, right? I'm like, okay, yeah, and they have to, on the phone appointment, the pre-op, they'd have to describe everything, and I'm just like, okay. And it's funny how things work. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and it was scheduled, because you were saying your favorite number 7, and my favorite number is now 7. It was scheduled on the 17th, and what I found out in the last 2 years is every important date in my life has a 7 in it. My surgery date, my kids' birthdays, the day I got married. Audrey was actually born on exactly a year after Brian got baptized, on the day. I mean, literally everything has a 7 in it. And I figured that out, like, it was before my surgery, because they're like, oh, October 17th. I'm like, perfect. Perfect.
Yep, that's the date. That's the date.
Brian's surgery was on the 7th, had a 7 in it. I think, yeah, January 17th. It's just everything. Everything. I'm like, oh, okay, God, I see you working. So,
A little God wink from him.
yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask your questions? Or
Yes.
do you have any advice you want to share with them or anything
Or other comments or
about like if things aren't going their way?
If things aren't going your way, I mean, pray, obviously, pray, pray, pray. And for me, a way I feel closest to the Lord is worshiping. I just love to put on worship music and sing my favorite songs. And I like to do that around my kids too, because then I catch them singing all the songs. And that just makes my heart happy. Because then no music will be on and they'll just be singing it. And I'm like, as long as they have those words in their head, you know what I mean? So I like worshiping because if those songs are stuck in my head and then I'm always just saying those words, I'm feeling like I'm giving gratitude and praise because he's always worthy of that anytime. And I just, it just makes me feel close to him.
And I think that in times of like struggle, it helps like switch your mind from like what you're going through in your circumstances and like put your focus on him.
Yeah.
So it gives you that mindset shift.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much to be after everything, there's just always so much to be thankful for. So it's like you should always be worshiping and thanking him anyways. But
Even when it doesn't go your way.
Even when it doesn't go your way, like just being thankful. I remember, and I still do, maybe not every day now because I might forget, but after all my surgeries, I just remember waking up every day and like literally the first breath, like as I'm waking up before my eyes are even open, I'm thanking God for waking up every day. And that was probably for like a year. Just being thankful for being awake, being able to get up. And once I was able to, after healing, like being able to make my kids breakfast, I was like so thankful for.
Right. It's just the little things you take for granted.
Yeah. Like, because for a long time, my mom was making their lunches. My mom was taking them to school. My mom was unpacking their backpacks. Like, I couldn't do that. And so all those little things that I can now do, like, super thankful for. I still am. But just being so thankful every day because I get to do those things, you know? And before, not that you're not thankful, but it doesn't really stick out to you because you weren't not able to
in
do
routine.
Yeah, in routine. And I was never not able to do that. So it's like, it was just my life, you know?
I think sometimes things have to be taken away from us to realize
the importance.
Yeah, the importance of it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I do have questions for you guys.
Oh gosh.
Where? How did you learn to trust God even when things didn't make sense?
You want me to go? Okay. I would say I feel like God kind of like slapped me in the face with it. Like I remember I was like driving home and my dad was in the hospital and I was like crying and I was angry at God. I was so upset. And I remember like him just being like, I just feel like he just yelled at me. He's like, Jaden, like, and I was like, whoa, okay. Like, I remember, like, we've gone through this before. Like, you've brought me out every time. Like, I feel like it was just like that reminder of, like, I've got you. Like, you're safe. You're okay. Everything will be okay. Even if it doesn't go how you want it to go, even if you think that, like, this shouldn't be happening, like, remember, like, you just need to remember. And I feel like when I was suing Ray God, I was like, I threw all that out the window because I was like, well, yeah, you did it last time, but why is it happening again? Like again and again and again and again. And I was so upset. And I just remember he was like, stop. Like, you're stop. And for me, it was just like, you need to remember what he has done for you in your life and the people's lives around you. And for like that remembrance of like his goodness and his faithfulness really just like straighten me out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Just want to make sure I answer it properly.
How did you learn to trust God even when things didn't make sense?
I think for me, this is something I still sometimes struggle with because I am such like a planner and I like to hold control because it makes me feel more safe.
Yeah.
But I think in times when things don't go my way, sometimes I catch myself throwing myself a pity party. And I'm like, why? Like just in my room but like Jaden mentioned, looking back at the times when I was trying to hold control and then seeing how he worked it out and how it worked out way better than if my plan, the one I had in my mind, went about. So I think just knowing that, like, just keep reminding myself that his plan, even though I may not see it, is better. And sometimes it's hard for me. I have a sweatshirt that says his plan over mine. And sometimes I wear it purposely when I don't feel like I want to not trust in him, but when I feel like my plan, when it's hard for me to give up my plan and accept his and walk in his will and what he wants. But I think for me, just remembering and knowing and also just being like open with God, like, Lord, I don't trust you, but just give me the faith. Help me to trust you in this season. And I think like where I was saying how you've already been through this and you could help your daughter walk through everything she's going to go through. I look back at times in my life where like situations now that come about, I handle it way better when before I would just be like, well, my life's ruined, like didn't go the way I wanted.
Remember, I'd always be like, Destiny, like, stop, that's not true. She's like, nope. Like, oh
and then now it's like all those little things that, even though they weren't like giant things that didn't go my way, but those little things like added up and like helped to refine me to now where I know how to handle my mindset and just like my actions within the situation.
Okay, second question. What would you say to someone listening right now who feels like their life is off track?
You want to answer yours?
let's see. I would say that it's important to, as you've heard, like this whole podcast with all three of us, to remember what the Lord has brought you through in the past and to really pray for that trust and that understanding and wisdom that he can give you if you accept it. Like, if you are just so dialed in on like everything that's going wrong, you'll never be able to see how the Lord is working in your life and what he's trying to teach you. So I would say really try to open your eyes to everything that's happening and ask the Lord, what are you teaching me? Help me understand. Ask for wisdom, because he says, if you ask, you will receive. So.
Can you say it again? Sorry. The question.
What would you say to someone listening right now who feels like their life is off track? That was good. I liked that.
Something that comes to my mind when I hear like off track, it may be off track for you, but it's not off track for him. Yeah. That's just what comes to my mind.
It's your plan that's off track.
Yeah, it's not his plan.
Your imperfect plan.
Little do you know he's just putting you on the path you're supposed to go. So I think, can you read it one more time?
Yes.
Sorry, because it was just.
Do you need to read it?
What would you say to someone listening right now who feels like their life is off track?
I would just say that he's with you through every moment and that you can lean on him. And like Proverbs 3:5-6 says, like, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Sometimes we don't understand his ways and why he's making us go through something, but just know in the end, you're slowly being refined through the process. That's what always helps me when I feel like when I hit a detour, like, what's happening? I'm like, what is he trying to teach me in this moment? What is he refining? What do I need to get rid of? You know, like when you also kind of like how we say we're connected to the vine, like stay connected to the vine, pruning, right? Yep. Sometimes he prunes you.
Yeah.
So I think that, just trust in him. And I think, like you said, just remembrance and everything. What mostly comes to mind is like, it's not off track. It's just for you, you know?
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
It's hard.
It is hard because it's like, this is like my plan. Like, I have it figured out. It's like,
when
you think you have it figured out.
Yeah.
we asked her, and I was like, oh, what topic do you want to do? And then you said this. I was like, great. I was like, I'm literally going through this right now. But also, the thing is, like, sometimes when we talk about stuff, I don't want the listeners to just think we're talking to them, because it's sometimes so applicable to my life. It's like, I'm going through this right now. Yeah. So when you picked that, I was like, God, you're so funny. You're so funny. You want me to talk about trusting in you, but I need to trust in you right now. Yeah. So that was just like a little God wink to me, because I'm like, I love this topic.
Sometimes I'll like say something on the podcast and I'll be like, I did that for myself. Like it came to me and I'm like,
was I supposed to share that, or was that for me?
Wait a minute.
Well, even sometimes I listen to it every Thursday morning, even though we already film it. Yeah. But I also forget, like once we stop, I forget what I said. Yeah. And then also because I'm the editor of it, I'm like, okay, I need to make sure
everything is good.
Yeah. Is perfect, because I like things to be perfect. So I always listen, and then I'm like, oh, look at it. We said a good point there. Or sometimes I'm like, oh, we missed
said that.
Yeah, a chance to say something there. But I think and it's easier like doing this topic with someone who's had more life experience, because we can sit here and be like, trust in the Lord, you know? But when you have more experiences and like we see his goodness in your life, I think it's easier and more like it's easier to
pick up and understand
and give people hope.
See it.
That's good. I'm glad you guys and people from church, after Brian and I shared, come up and tell us that, because like, I don't know how people took it. I obviously prayed about it and wanted, God's glory to shine and give him the praise for everything in our life. I'm just thankful that our story and our life can give him glory, because that's all I want. And because obviously we're super thankful that everything he's done for us and everything we have in our life is because of him and our family, I'm just always thankful and in awe of what he's done for us and our family. And I know going forward, whatever we face or go through, that, he'll have us. And just being able to share that, and that anyone gets anything from that, is just huge to us. I'm like, wow, I feel thankful to him for that.
Yeah. And people will see like your obedience and your faithfulness to the Lord, and they may not even believe, like people within your life that you don't know who you'll touch and who you'll encourage. So I think that's like so beautiful too, because I don't know if like there's people in your life that don't know Jesus, but they just see you and the strength you've had. They know that's not human strength. That's the strength that the Lord has given you. So I think that's like, you're just within your own life, and just you putting your trust and sharing your story.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to share your story, but just people watch you, and like the way you walk through life, they learn from you and you encourage them. So
I hope I can do that.
Yeah, even with your kids, as you're like, I like to put worship music on, like when they're in the house. I like to like let them see how you are with God and like your relationship with God. That will encourage them like subconsciously, like the way that is, like them just being around that, seeing how you are, seeing how your husband is, like that puts the spirit in them like so subconsciously, like they don't even recognize it. It's just like second nature to them. It's just like they're walking around singing worship music,
And that's what I try and do. It's like, it's what I do anyways, because I enjoy it, and like when I tell Audrey I'm doing my homework and I'm doing my Bible, the homework for women's group and stuff, and I have my Bible and stuff. I want her to see that, I want her to know what I'm doing and see that in the mornings and stuff, because like subconsciously I want her to be like, oh, that's what mom's doing all the time, and that's what music she's listening to all the time, because I want it to always be in their head, you know? So yes, exactly.
Do you have any last thoughts?
I do.
Okay.
I flipped the script and I got a song for you guys for the week.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I'm like, so do you have a song of the week?
I sure do. It's so funny because after you guys asked me about the podcast, it was like 2 or 3 days later, this song was playing in my car, and I'm like, this is perfect. It's Good God Almighty by Crowder.
I've never heard that.
No. Yes, you have. It's talking about praising God no matter what circumstances you're in, good or bad.
Perfect.
That you'll always be praising God.
I can't believe you've never heard that song.
Yes. I love that song.
Yeah, I know that song.
Yeah.
I don't think
Now
you
I'll
know
know
more
it
songs
too.
than me.
Well, I will know it.
Yep.
Good or bad, that you'll always be praising God.
So what is it called again?
Good God Almighty.
Good God Almighty.
By who? Crowder.
Listen to that, guys.
Yeah. It's
I'll
a
be
good
listening too.
one. It's a good one.
Yeah, you will be. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Well, we just want to thank you for sharing your story and for taking this step and coming on the podcast because we know it can be a little weird.
No,
People could be like, I'm nervous.
No, that was fun.
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys had me.
And thank you for being so open.
Yes.
And sharing your heart.
Yeah, I'm glad to share my story, and if anyone can take anything from it, I'm just thankful to, give God the glory in my life and what he's done for me and my family. So
it's awesome. All right, well,
remember to stay connected to each other, stay connected to us, and most importantly, the vine. Remember to, you want to say it with us?
What is it?
Be the light. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Be the light.
Bye, guys.